Good morning, brethren. Welcome to another daily devotional. Yesterday we were thinking about Paul's exhortation to be calm, not to be worried or anxious. Well, today we're going to see how Paul proposes a solution to anxiety, the way to being calm, and that is be prayerful. Verse 6 of chapter 4. In everything, by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God. Notice there's a little but in that sentence. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. That little but that joins those two clauses together is what is known as a contrasting conjunction. You could paraphrase it maybe like this: do not be anxious about anything, but rather cease from being anxious by doing this instead. Present your requests about everything to God in prayer. Paul says, here is the pathway to calmness, or to put it in a negative form, here is the antidote, the vaccine to worry. It is prayer. During the COVID pandemic, we were all delighted whenever we heard that the scientists had come up with a vaccine for COVID, that if people take this vaccine, it protects them against the excesses of COVID. The vaccine for worry is prayer. The way to keep yourself from being over anxious about anything is to be prayerful about everything. So Paul doesn't just say, be calm. He doesn't just say, stop worrying. That's what modern psychology would do. The modern psychologist would say, pull yourself together. It's stupid to worry. It doesn't achieve anything. It can't change things. And all of that's true, of course. Worrying about a situation doesn't change the situation. Worrying about something doesn't accomplish anything positive. In fact, if anything, it makes matters worse, because it produces in the worrier other psychosomatic ailments like headaches, stomach upsets, ulcers, and so on. But Paul doesn't approach the subject of worry the way a modern psychologist would approach it. He approaches it from a Christian theological perspective. He says, pray about it. Pray about it. And brethren, that is so important. Tomorrow we're going to look at the various terms that Paul uses for prayer. But just thinking of it in general terms, praying about things that could cause us worry, that do cause us to be worried, is the pathway to calmness of spirit. Paul says, do not be anxious about anything. Why? Because we can pray about everything. We're very quick to unburden our worries to other people, to phone them up and to talk about them and to go over them. How often do we go aside and speak to God about them? How often do we bring these concerns to the Lord? One of the wonderful things about the book of Psalms is that time and time again you see the psalmist in circumstances where he expresses his concern, his anxiety, if you like. And then what does he do? He speaks to God about it. And more often than not, by the time you get to the end of the particular psalm, whereas at the beginning he was anxious and beside himself, by the end of the psalm, having talked to God about it, calmness is restored. And we're going to see why that's the case when we look at these 4 terms that Paul uses for petition tomorrow. But take the general principle. Don't be anxious about anything, because we can pray about everything. May God help us to take the first steps along this pathway of prayer that leads to calmness of soul, calmness of heart, calmness of mind. May you know that inner peace that this verse speaks about, that calmness that Paul urged upon his believers. Be calm. How? Be prayerful. Have a blessed day.